Welcome to Emotional Intelligence Simplified, the podcast that takes the mystery out of emotional intelligence and brings its power right into your daily life. In each episode, we explore the simple truths behind what it really means to be emotionally intelligent at work, at home, in relationships, and in how we lead ourselves and others. Through inspiring conversations, real-life examples, and practical tools, we'll show you how emotional intelligence can help you unlock the best version of yourself. Welcome to Emotional Intelligence Simplified, the podcast. I am Angela Mwihaki, and today we are glad to be joined by Vicky, the MD of Profiles.
Thank you, Angela.
How are you?
Good to come back.
It's always good to have you here. We have very good conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So we recently hosted Reverend Jeffrey Jenga on conflict resolution and, the role of emotional intelligence. And we had quite an interesting conversation. And I thought it would be nice to also hear, from your perspective as somebody who is in the training and also helping build corporate understanding of such things, that we would look at these issues of conflict. So maybe we could start with, what are some of the common causes of conflict, at workplace or in relationships?
Okay. So research shows, and you can Google it in the World Wide Web, personalities, I think, account for 65, close to 65 or more percent.
Personalities?
Yes, personality clashes. Just your personality. The fact that you're different from me, that we cannot see eye to eye, accounts for a lot of the clashes we find at the workplace and generally.
That means because 65% is
a huge number. It's a big number, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the less we understand about our personalities and the less we understand about personality differences and things like that, the more we're likely not to be aware of how much it contributes to our conflict. And each of us has different ways of coming to conflict. So some of us come to conflict head on. Some of us prefer to go around conflict a little bit and then look at the
assess the sides,
painful area of entry. Others prefer to avoid it altogether and will go to the farthest corner from conflict and pray that it resolves itself. So all of us, and there are many other, I guess, ways, but yeah.
So one is personalities.
That's the biggest one, is personality, which I think speaks to the next one, which is communication, lack of clarity in communication. The other one, well, when we talk about communication, they say communication is largely body language and the tone of our voice. So I could be saying a message, but you're not receiving it because my body is angled in a certain way. The tone that I chose to use is a certain way. So I'm receiving the message totally different from the way that you think you're delivering it. So it's not about communication, the words.
It is
okay,
the words perception.
Yes, the words
so it's the whole package.
It's a whole package. So, and that's why someone will say, "I trust you," and you're like, "Yeah,
you're frowning, really?
Right, yes, yeah." Someone will put their hand on you and they say, "I trust you," and there's a whole different meaning from those two. Yet, same words were used. So it's that whole package of communication. Another one I find that is a source of conflict is boundaries, lack of boundaries, and again, lack of communicated boundaries.
So is it boundaries, lack of boundaries?
So those first is the lack of boundaries.
Okay.
And then lack of communication of those boundaries. So I don't know. So sometimes we are not sure where our boundaries are. So people come in and out into our space.
So maybe let's clarify that first, because these days everybody's talking about boundaries. What are boundaries?
So they're like mipakas. What are those?
There is a physical, but when we talk about people and boundaries, what are we saying?
So it's understanding things that you will do, things you will not do, things that feel wrong to you, maybe from a value perspective. For example, if I feel that I hold a certain value, maybe I feel maybe let's say, for example, for me, commitment is a big value of mine. And I feel that you're coming into this conversation halfway there. Already there's like a small conflict starting there because I'm not seeing as if you're committed.
I'm not feeling your commitment.
And commitment looks a certain way to me.
To you?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have to be able to communicate that for me, coming into this into conversation means that you have to do 1, 2, 3 things. If that's not clear to you as well, then the expectations are not clearly defined. Expectations is another one, lack of clearly defined expectations. But for me, My boundary is that if I accept you as you are, to work with you, someone else would say, this I cannot work with. So even before we start, I think this will not go anywhere. So I'm stopping it here. But maybe like, let's just continue. Then all the problems that were going to come anyway, they come. And then now I start getting upset and all that. So I didn't recognize that there's a boundary I needed to set there about the people that I work with.
Of what you can tolerate and what you can't.
Yes, exactly.
So those are what we're talking about, boundaries.
Yes, yeah.
So like, if you're going to work on this thing and we need to keep time, do certain things. So
that's
express each other our expectations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I expect you to keep time. And for me, if that's something that you can't do, I would rather not proceed with this engagement.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's even say in marriage or in relationships or situationships, you don't clearly define as well what that marriage is for you or that relationship is for you, what it means to you, what you're willing to take
and what you can't take.
And then continuously reinforce that boundary. Not today you can take it, then tomorrow you can't take it,
then the next day
maybe, so even someone gets confused, they're like, okay, fine, so what are we doing here? Yeah. So part of the first people to break the boundaries is themselves, is you. It's not even the other person, because you're the one who has to let that person come in. So you're the one who relaxes them. It's like Kenya, yeah? It's like Kenya being lax about its borders.
So once today it slides this way, like then it goes back to Lake
so
Victoria.
Even Somalia will get confused. They're like, okay, so are we allowed to come in or not? Which is, So continuously reinforcing those boundaries. If you don't do that, then that breeds.
It will bring conflict. And there's something you've raised and I've just thought it's very important. We don't talk about it. Expectations.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they're in our heads.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't tell people. I expect. But I remember having a talk with somebody about some expectations I had and she laughed. She's like, have you ever told anyone? No. And then you're here getting upset. Yes. And you never said it. So how are they supposed to know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we need to think. So that can also cause conflict.
That can also cause conflict, among other things. But
okay. But those are the biggest. So we've said, first of all, it is personalities. Then we've talked about now lack of or not expressed boundaries.
Communication.
And also communication is huge. How you tell the message, are you saying it right or not? Those are pretty big. So let's look at maybe, as now that we have identified what are the causes of conflict, how does the issue of self-awareness contribute to conflict? Resolving
conflict, because every conflict triggers something in us first, an emotion. I think in the last FAQ we're talking about emotional beings,
yes,
and logical beings, and the conclusion is out there. We're emotional
thinking beings.
Yes. So the emotions that get triggered during conflict can derail a meaningful conversation. So that self-awareness helps us to understand the threshold beyond which now we are moving to the place of never coming back. So where you're going to say something or you're going to do something, or you're going to retreat away from the conflict and it's not going to help. Being self-aware also helps you focus on the bigger picture. So also being aware of others and how you're impacting that picture by maybe pushing for your own for your own agenda. Being self-aware also helps you understand, why are you in this conflict? When you're just there for conflict's sake. I'm there because I just don't like Angela and I don't like the way she talks. And so we're just going, But being self-aware, I'm going to ask myself questions like, what's in it for me? What do I really want out of this discussion? And that takes center stage. You stop being the real thing here that I'm focusing on when it comes to conflict. I start focusing on, what do I want out of this? What am I willing to give up to get this thing? And what am I not absolutely willing to give up? So we start looking at the subject matter, what I want, where do I want this to go, as opposed to, this person is irritatingly annoying. And God, who dresses like that? Things like that are just derailers. So you end up leaving a conflict, not getting what you want in the first place. And you hate someone from here to hell. And you've not helped yourself.
And there's no substance. You've just reminded me, Reverend Jenga said, usually what he has learned in over 10 years of conflict resolution is that it's just hurt emotions.
Yeah.
I felt ignored. So we are here fighting for succession. This land is a quarter by a quarter of a quarter for 5 of us.
Yeah.
And me, I have learned elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm here fighting just because you guys made me feel like I didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says, sometimes you sit and you have a discussion and like, I just needed to feel recognized. In fact, I'm not interested anymore.
Now I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just needed that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's how what is it I really want from this situation?
What is it? Yeah. 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 And sometimes you don't know yourself until you go through that exercise and you're like, I'm going to do this. I'm actually doing this because of 1, 2, 3 things. So I can give up at a certain point.
I like that. Now let's flip it and look at the role of empathy in conflict resolution.
Okay. So first, let's define empathy.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not woye.
It's not woye.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Suffering. Yes, you must be suffering. So empathy demands that we take the perspective of the other person as their truth.
So what? Walk in their shoes?
Yeah, walk in their shoes, but walk in their shoes and understand how it feels to walk in their shoes. So I must be able to know that the point you're raising is your truth. That's how you see
what
the world.
I feel.
You're not saying
whether it's right or wrong, it's my truth.
And you're not saying it to hurt me.
Okay.
Or to, I mean, maybe you are, but that's how you articulate. That's how you're seeing things. So if you tell me, I don't like the way you've done this is okay. You don't like it. I can't challenge that. You don't like it. So why don't I become curious to find out why you don't like it? Yeah. So there's a saying by Carl Jung. He says, it's very hard to think. That's why a lot of people judge. It's very hard to keep asking beautiful. You why.
I like that. It's very hard to think. That's
it's
why
hard
we
work.
Judge. It's true because it is. You have to
be present. You have to ask questions. You have to be curious to think. So I'd rather just make an opinion.
Yeah,
and be like,
lost.
and then then move on. So imagine now you're saying something and I have to ask why. And I have to be curious to know that is your perspective. And I want to understand your perspective so that I can see where I can maybe speak to it and maybe change your mind. But I can't do that if I've already judged you and you're right and I'm wrong. So also recognizing emotion in other people. I sense you're angry. Acknowledging that and say, I sense you're angry. For example, this person who's being ignored. I sense you feel that we are taking you for granted. That liberates a lot of conversations, by the way, because you validated the way that I feel. Yeah. And now that opens another
discussion.
Avenue.
Why do I feel ignored? Yes.
So in conflict, you're actually becoming curious to the other person. You're moving and shifting the power to them to explain. But in that way, you're also enabling yourself to really listen to the unspoken truths. So all those things you might not be aware of that are part of this conflict that are far, far away, you're beginning to see them, the layers that are coming through. So I think it is necessary for conflict because it allows us to be curious. Your perspective. What are you saying? Yeah. Communicating that yes, okay, this is what I hear. But don't you think this? Then listening. A lot of the times we don't do that. So we end up talking. And when you do that, the other person starts also listening.
Yeah.
Because now you're echoing back things that are important
the things
to
that
them.
Were going on in there.
And that are now important to them. You're no longer going around in circles on things that don't matter. Now you've gone to the heart of the matter of something that is important to someone. So resolution is easier, basically. But it means you have to be the person who practices empathy. You can't do it for the other person.
You should be showing empathy now.
It works for you.
Your turn.
It works for you. It ends up working for you.
Yeah.
So that's a story of empathy. And I think we underestimate the power of empathy, and also we underestimate the work of empathy. People who are highly empathetic, it's a skill that they've learned over time, and I think either through life or whatever it is or intention, they've learned to really deeply listen and to see what is it that you're saying. What is the real truth about this matter? What are you feeling? Yeah. And then now, when I understand that, then now we can start talking about, okay, fine. What are the real answers that are available to both of us?
How can we resolve this?
Yep.
And it also is, it's heavy work. I think being empathetic it takes a lot of commitment.
It does. Yes. And it takes for you to be aware of what's in it for you. What do you really want? Yeah. Because you can go the angst way and force and bully your way, but at the end of the day, it's not sustainable. It's not peaceful. It's not, the end result is not one that everyone will be happy about and think of as a win-win situation, you'll come back and keep revisiting that conversation. So if you think about, what do I really want? I want us to solve this thing. I mean, to the interest of everyone, including
to find
mine.
a way forward for all,
including mine. But in a way that we all feel that we wade into the conversations we were had. And even if perhaps the decision finally is not going to be at one that we all wanted, but we'll have felt had, there will be clarity because I will have semad and it has tokad me.
Itakutoka, utasema ikutoke.
Yes, yeah.
So I like that. And we need to say that that's how self-awareness of others and empathy need to go together.
Yes.
So that truly there's balance. So what else do we need to look at? So let's look at also emotional self-regulation and how can it prevent, escalations in conflict? Because self-regulation is a challenge. But how do we use it like in managing conflicts? Okay.
I think that's a no-brainer. The one that's a no-brainer is when things are heated up and you find yourself, you're getting to a threshold where your body language, your facial expressions and subtitles and the words that are coming out of your mouth are no longer in your control. Have you ever watched yourself just script, speak and you're like, okay, where did that come from? So that's emotional self-regulation, understanding where do I need to be at, right? So that I don't derail, as I said, this well-intentioned conversation. Now there's another one. The one for walking away from the table when conflict is happening. If you're someone who's not very comfortable with conflict, you'll find yourself pushing the table and saying, I can't deal with this.
Or you just suddenly pull back and you start crossing you're trying to create a barrier.
Yeah, and even walking to a corner because you're not comfortable with conflict. So when people have started getting into that uncomfortable zone, which is useful, conflict is useful for us to get to resolution. You find yourself now, that's where, in fact, sometimes you're like, I can't deal with this. This is becoming too much. So you've killed the great conflict that was required instead of weighing in. So again, in terms of emotional self-regulation, can you lean into difficult conversations and not avoid them? Can you be part of those voices that are conflicting? Because you need to as well.
So okay, let's look at that from two perspectives.
Yeah.
Let's start with at a work situation.
Yeah.
It can be a challenge depending on who you are and the position you hold.
Yeah.
Like maybe you're arguing with your boss or someone. It's not easy to be able to just get into it.
Yeah.
It may be easier to back off.
Yeah.
So how do we manage such situations?
It may be easier to back off for you to back off. But if you look at the people who are given more and more responsibilities, people who grow in organizations, some of the characteristics that they have is that they stood up to a more senior person than them. They were able to articulate themselves properly. You don't just stand up and say, me, I can't. Yeah. You're able to articulate your issues in a manner that, is meaningful. People can understand what you're saying. So you leaned into the discomfort of having to call something out. That's conflict right there. And if you have this skill and you develop this skill, yeah, you're seen as someone who first and foremost takes ownership for a lot of the things that you do or say, can articulate issues, can defend positions. That's a very, very great asset for any organization, that I can send you into a meeting and you're able to defend our position. Of course,
that's
I'll
the guy
pick
we
you.
want. Yeah.
Yes. So it's not that it's not a good thing. It's that you can't do it. And you need to learn how to stand up to your boss in a respectful way. Remember, we said you have the right to express yourself. But
it's how you express yourself.
Yeah. So that's how I'd put it.
Because you see, like we said, personalities are different.
Yeah.
We all respond to different situations, depending on whether you're an introvert, you're a choleric or whoever. Certain things for you, it takes time to learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And then also maybe in a more intimate, like in a relationship, sometimes you don't know how to manage the escalation, de-escalation.
You escalate until you find out where the point is that you're not supposed to get through.
Till you find out where and how will you know when you've crossed?
Yes. Whenever I teach about conflict, and I say one of the reasons why we don't engage in conflict is because we are so scared.
Could we say, I don't know, and I'm going to risk saying this word, Kenyans are conflict averse.
They're consensus people. So
See, that's what I'm saying. So, is it that...
No, we'll not put Kenyans into it.
But that's human beings generally. A lot of us seem to be conflict averse.
Yes. And so we don't want to engage in conflict.
Yes.
It brings emotions in us that we are not ready to feel.
So it's things we don't want to feel.
So you would rather stay in this stage.
It's okay.
You stay here. Yeah. You stay in artificial harmony. The niceness. Hi. And you conflict in very nice ways. Yeah.
We're daggering each other very kindly.
So, and then when we go into conflict, we go to the other side, the mean-spirited attacks. And then that derails everything because now we focus on the attack itself. We forget about
the root cause of the conflict.
Or even the problems, the issues at hand that are meant to be discussed, the intellectual nature of those issues. Yeah, we go into the mud. But conflicting, first, requires us to practice it often. So how are you going to learn how to conflict if you're always on this other side?
So we need to fight more.
Conflict is essential.
Okay.
In fact, I shared on my LinkedIn, I think yesterday, you say you value honesty, yet you do not want to conflict. How do you get to the truth? If you can't have different opinions differing and for you to say, So it is essential in the pursuit of truth for us to conflict, for you to share my ideas and I share and you share yours. And at
they'll
the
not
middle
always
of
converge.
Yes, but you're gaining clarity. In fact, the minute you start conflicting, you start sharing your views and sometimes in a heated manner, I start saying, so that's what you're thinking. So kumbe you aren't thinking like this. Kumbe you're not doing this because it starts bringing clarity to the whole conversation, and I'm more likely to buy into whatever it is that you're saying because now I can see. But the more we stay here, the more we stay with our assumptions. Angela is always like this. Angela is always like that. We stay in the area of assumptions because we don't want to get into
sensitive areas. So should we say there is an art to conflict?
And you can learn it, yes. And there are people who do it very well. There are people who've learned how to disarm when things become heated. They throw in some funny thing, guys laugh, and we continue.
This is Emotional Intelligence Simplified, the podcast. Follow us on our social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and X at EI Simplified. You can also join our WhatsApp channel. We'd like to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Profiles, the people experts. Profiles helps individuals and organizations unlock their potential through emotional intelligence assessments, personalized coaching and team training, and culture transformation and leadership tools. You can check them out at www.profiles.co.ke, and you can call them on 0722 457777. Let's get back to the podcast. Conflict is not always at a friction where we're now almost killing each other and people don't understand. It's a way to find solutions.
Yes. It's a way to build clarity. It's a way to get buy-in from others. Otherwise, they say, Vicky amesema. And then when things go wrong, kama Vicky angetuuliza, tungemwambia.
If she had told us, we'd have told. She never asked us.
She never asked us.
She just told us.
She never asks.
Yeah, she told us. So we did.
Yeah.
It's another way of getting feedback.
It's another way of getting feedback. What was the next question? I think my thoughts have derailed themselves.
Let's look at how we can use AI to resolve conflicts. Because we're talking about self-regulation to prevent escalation.
Yeah.
Now we've talked about why conflict is a good thing, and we've gone beyond what people thought. Maybe we should have thought what conflict meant.
Well, conflict in itself is not a very nice word. When
the degrees of conflict, but you see, now we're seeing it comes in different levels.
Yes.
So maybe that's what we need to look at. So people do understand that the word conflict may not sound positive, but like how you have said, it's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
It's essential.
But it's the right word. When you're conflicting with someone, it's not comfortable. Like if we are busy saying, hi, yes, yeah, I like your idea. What was it again? So conflict is not comfortable. If I'm really actively, you've seen when you're with your friends, the ones you trust, you even say things
we
you're
debate
like,
and
it's not comfortable. So, and after all that, you're like, huwa anakuanga hivi, but we trust each other. So we don't shy away from conflict. Yeah. But when you come to the workplace, you are calculating all the costs, the political costs, the social costs, the financial
Economic
costs,
costs, yeah.
costs. So you're like, apana, me, I'd rather not rock that boat. But that actually works against you, like I said, because you're not able to speak your thoughts out. You're not able to clarify issues, even for yourself, to other people. So when we're saying, they don't ask us, maybe it's that you don't lean into conflict. Yeah. But how do leaders use EI to manage or to leverage on conflict? By, I have I've had people speak in a forum and someone says, sometimes I just say the wrong word. Why? Because I want to see if people will agree with me. And if people agree
he's
with
assessing.
me, I know I'm in terrible funk, because now that means everything we've been talking here, guys have just been saying yes.
They've been yes
for the
people.
sake of yes, they've been yes people. So say something ridiculous. People hold back. They're like, so what do you guys think? People are not commenting, they're quiet. You're expecting someone to say that's a terrible idea, but no one says anything. Okay, there you have your feedback. So the leaders with the high EI will always ask for feedback. What do you guys think? What do you think? Why are you agreeing with me? They will ensure, because they understand that not everyone in a team is going to come to conflict in the same way.
True.
So I'm going to be the one who's going to seek that feedback. And the more that I build upon it, the more that I keep asking people, the more they feel they can do it. So even the next time I'm not going to ask anyone, somebody else is going to raise their hand and say, that's a terrible idea. I don't think we should do it that way. And the fact that I'm finding that I can withhold or regulate myself enough so that people don't feel like...
to feel comfortable enough to say so.
Yes. The other thing is they set ground rules around conflict. So there are certain words, if you're in a team, you have to set ground rules around how you conflict. For example, there are certain words that should never be used.
Like?
There are certain, the words. I can't say them on air.
Okay, fine. Unprintable words.
Yes. But even like there are certain things you should never attack someone. You should never attack their
So
personal.
it should not be personal.
Yes. But you have to set those ground rules as a team.
So you have to teach them.
Because for me, when I conflict, but then if you attack me, I'll attack you right back. I'll feel like nothing. We're just attacking each other. But someone else watching us will never conflict again. They were like, wow. That's what it means, eh? Hey, me, I'm not doing it. So in the team, you have to be aware.
You have to create ground rules, yeah.
Yes.
Here, it's about the issue. It's not about the individual.
And they set some bit of fairness and equity. Because just because me and you can proceed to tear each other down and feel nothing about it, other people, their styles are not like that. And that every single person has something to share and have something meaningful to contribute. So they actively manage that. They're actively looking for that. That's why they're always going for team buildings or coffee or lunch, because you know that you have to keep putting in, you have to ensure the team really trusts you. You're building trust, a foundation of trust. They know that you have their back. They know that even if that day they held you accountable to something that you
There's
did,
no beef.
There's no beef. It was just that.
Now, that's easy in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get back to family.
Mm-hmm.
Now their feelings run deep.
Yeah,
we start carrying grudges. When I was 5, you did this to me. You broke my toy. How do we look at conflict from that? Because it comes in with packed things. Maybe feelings or perceptions from childhood. Now we're dealing with them as grown-ups. Like we know, like in the Kenyan context, succession brings in a lot of beef.
Yeah. But we don't want to go for therapy. So how can we be helped?
Now even therapy is already a big step.
Yeah. Anyway, that was actually really wrong. I shouldn't have just thrown out that statement. But
because people don't understand the need for therapy. But let's start with, so things like that how do we deal within those closer relationships, or maybe even like in the dating scene, people, maybe you're affected by how you grew up, how I grew up. Dealing with conflict becomes a challenge. How do we make it as healthy? Like how we've talked about setting ground rules in the office and creating space for people to be able to feel free. How do we do that? Because you see, with other relationships, it becomes very personal. What are your thoughts on that? It's interesting.
I could speak about it for 2 days because I really talk about it a lot.
And it's an important part because it is part of life.
It is part of life. But for me, I feel that we don't take personal responsibility for the way we bring ourselves to relationships. Like, I am responsible.
For me?
No. For the growth of that relationship as well as the detriment of that relationship. So when something doesn't work, we tend to want to blame it on situations.
You don't want to point the finger at yourself.
Yes, meaning also the person you're with, this relationship is not because you're like this, you're like this, you're like this. We can't work together.
And I'm not saying what am I doing? What is my input to this detriment?
Yeah. And the minute that happens, when we are outward looking, it's very hard to find a common point of interest.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult for us to concretize. If it's you, if it's, for example, I feel like I don't have enough money, so I can't have this relationship. Okay, well, yeah.
Then let's wait until there's money. Then
let's wait until there's.
We blame external issues.
Yes.
Okay, so it's ownership.
I feel we don't own our own contribution to marriages, to the way we raise our kids, to the way we date and all that. And I have found that the people who own this to a large extent make very effective decisions about who they marry, about how they run the relationship. So even starts from the selection process, by the way.
Yeah.
That's all the way from there. So, and because we're not social, I know how I got married. I fell in love. The guy was gorgeous and he gave me babies. And that was it. Then later on, I was like,
happened to you.
Who the hell is this?
Everything happened to you.
Everything happened to me. Exactly. So I did not understand the role that I played, and I did not understand the extent to which I had control. You get? So I went through with this narrative that I know in my head. In fact, my mother was like, now the next thing is we get married. So I found a dude. Good. I didn't question what values do I live in? What kind of values
what do I want?
Yeah. So I found guys who are in it they take that responsibility.
Intentional. I think the word is
they
intentional.
Take responsibility that I am as equally to blame if a marriage doesn't work as any other person. So I'm going to try and do my part. And at least also make sure that we gel fast. So yes, we are in love. And then you find those guys annoying who are telling you, we're in love, but now nakuna dali like, oh my God, just marry the guy, or marry the girl. I don't know. So yeah, that's where I would start from. So even in conflict, I read somewhere we are the ones who teach our kids to fight. We're the ones who teach our kids
because they have to learn from somewhere.
They learn from us. Yeah. And your emotional climate as a couple is dictating
influences what happens now to your children.
Yeah.
Very true.
So as I said, please let's not discuss this one. This one we can dedicate a whole podcast to. Please, naomba.
So let's look at how emotional intelligence influences leadership in high conflict environments.
Yeah. So diplomacy is everything. But even before diplomacy, in a high conflict environments, the people who thrive are guys who are safe. One day Zuhura coined this. He said you have to be psychologically safe within yourself to thrive in conflict. Meaning you don't get moved.
So you have inner peace.
You're centered.
You're grounded. Okay.
You're grounded. You're centered. If I say this, don't react this way. You're very grounded and centered. Such people sometimes come across as being slow and sometimes sitting on the fence and sometimes too calm. But that's what you need, because remember, you're trying to listen to everything and everyone. You can't just take sides just like that. So you're trying to understand, what am I hearing this side? What is being unsaid?
What do you mean by this?
Kwa ground ziko aje? So you're trying to be a bit more expansive in your data points, where you're getting your information from. And you can't do that. You say something, I already react. Then I go to this other person, they say something, I sympathize. So I end up, being part of the problem. So being that centered leader and practicing to be calm, to listen, to practice empathy. Empathy is like a light. It shines. It shines on people, because you see, when you allow people the space to be, they just give you everything. They weigh in. As opposed to you imagining and forcing them, they come. When they trust you, they come and they tell you, and they even work for you. Yeah, but when they don't.
Now, that's what Reverend Jenga called wisdom. There's a little thing called wisdom where when you sit in, because we're talking about mediation, and he was talking about how, as a mediator, you can't take sides. So it's your job to get these guys into a space where they fungua roho. So everybody expresses their side. And he gave us interesting examples of couples in conflict. So where he has to do a caucus and talk to this one alone, talk to that one alone, so that he can get to understand.
Yeah.
And I like that. You've called it empathy. He called it wisdom. Where you now get people to share. Fungua.
Yes.
To get to the real niche and the core of the matter. So you have to be the Switzerland, for want of a better word.
You have to be the Switzerland. I call it.
I was trying to look for it as that island of calmness in this storm.
Yeah.
So as you can be able to bring these people again together to find, a common ground.
Yeah. 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 I call it empathy because it means you genuinely see other people's perspectives and you understand that that's their truth. Yeah. And so you listen to it and without judgment, you suspend judgment. You know, as we said, we like judging.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, when we don't think, that one I'm going to use again and again. Because it's true. I mean, even actually, the Reverend Jenga taught me mediation. And it's true, when you sit in mediation, the whole idea is you have to listen to all and you can't favor any.
Yeah.
And be like, I hear you. So even get to understand, what do you mean by this? Why do you feel like that?
Yeah.
So that you can now, help this other one also hear that other side.
Yeah.
Because I remember in some places where we do mediation, you literally tell them, you can't talk to each other. You have to come through the chair. So you talk to me,
then
and they talk to me so that you don't. So that makes a lot of sense. So empathy, I like that, is the light that mulikas everyone and it helps bring out that discussion.
Yeah.
So what are some of the interesting series with you teaching corporates and everything about solving conflicts? What are some of the interesting things you've learned or seen with empathy?
So I remember one person when we were going through what is empathy and why is it important? And one of the persons asked me, so why do I need empathy? I mean, what is it for? And there's one of the things we tell leaders is that you have to be as present and as visible as possible. So there's this thing that when I get to this position, I sit in my office, my nice corner office, and I'm to be seen.
Yes, they just see me.
Not to be, I'm hard on occasionally, when I have something to say or when we have team meetings. And what that does is removes you from what's really happening on the ground. So in fact, you find you have like 3 or 4% of the actual information of what is happening in the organization. And you're the one in the position of leadership. So you're making decisions with 4%.
Only 3%.
Yes. In fact, yes, but
because you're in the corner there and everybody else is here and you're in that glass partition.
Yeah. So the less you're working, the less information you have. And yes, guys argue and say, but I'm at that position, I should know everything. But you really should know what is important because you're the one making the decisions. No one else is making those decisions. So you have to be as visible and as present as much as possible on the shop floor. You're the one who walks, asks people how they are. And this is where empathy becomes very important because when you meet people, your first reaction is to want to talk to them and to fix their problem. You're the leader. So, hi, so what are you working on? Ebu, let me see. So, hi, how about, practice empathy? Listen to their stories. Okay, so what are you guys working on? So, or rather, hi, so what's happening? And let the person talk and listen to them and ask questions from every insight you get. Okay, so what happened there? And then what did you think? You're just asking questions.
How can we solve this?
Yes. I sense you're a bit frustrated. Why are you frustrated? Because, okay. And the more you do it as you're walking that shop floor, the more people also you're building trust. And you're building that brand as an authentic leader who listens. You remember that wisdom that Reverend Jeng is talking about and they come to you. Yeah, because the next time they'll come and knock the door when things are wrong and they'll be like, by the way, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So that's how you use empathy as a skill to help you build trust around the people that you're leading, to help you understand things for what they are. Vitu kwa ground ziko aje.
I want to flip it a bit. It's made me think about how parenting has now changed. You see, as we were told.
Yes. Now you're told.
We were told and we were given looks that spoke.
Yes.
But you see, that's not how you're parenting.
Yeah.
Are you seeing how you're working empathy? You're also doing it in the ground.
Yes. It's difficult. It's different. Sorry.
Yeah, isn't it? Like with your kids now, they give you feedback.
Yes.
You ask them, what are they feeling? What are they up to?
Yes.
So it applies also in our relationships.
It does, yes. And it's becoming the thing.
And it's more effective. I think, because I should ask you, what do you think of your form of parenting and how we were parented and the lessons you've learned with EI? and empathy?
I think my kids sometimes say things that I get so shocked. I wonder how to react. And I realize that I've created that space for them to say shocking things. And and I can't simmer it down because they might not tell me other shocking things. So yeah, that's how I'd put it.
It opens up new things.
It does open up new things.
And you get to see, you get to see through their lens.
Yeah.
And that changes things. Because that's what I'm learning with these younger ones. They see things differently. And we have to be open. We have had a aha moment.
Aha.
So now let's look at, why should organizations invest in emotional intelligence training? Because you've been at this for how long now?
8 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are you seeing? What are the changes you've seen? And why do we feel it's such a... Because I know we say emotional intelligence needs to become like training from primary. But let's also talk about corporates and investing in it. Why is it so important to invest in emotional intelligence training?
Because the effective leadership styles have changed. There was a time when autocratic leadership and, that's the form of, tell worked. The variables were not many. I mean, look at the way your grandfather worked. I mean, it was go to the forest, get food, direct others to go to the forest, get food. I mean, the variables of work were not as complicated as they are today. The way I learned, I had a library, a big one for that matter. Finding one source of information was like a whole... I don't know. I'd have to know the book. There was
the writer
a lot.
Follow. Yeah, yeah.
And I use this example a lot because I had to be a walking library to pass my exams. I had to have a lot of information in me to be seen as the person who's competent. But that's not the case now.
No.
As in, I just need to know how to search for that information. Of course, I need to have the
tools.
Foundational information. Yeah. I need to know what I'm doing, and I need to understand the foundation, the fundamental concepts. But then after that, I can get the information. I can learn at any time about anything if I'm interested. So that means that for me, as a leader, I am leading people who potentially have so many solutions. Right. So it's not the days when I had the answer and I could tell people 1, 2, 3 things. And those ones, by the way, it ended a long time ago. But, constantly being reminded that if you're not working through your people, if you're not being, when you start leading a group of people, if their output is not growing, not yours, if their output is not growing, if they're not becoming better,
then you're not going anywhere.
Because that's the complexity of life. We all handle very many things that you will never be able to know yourself. You're not the guru. You're not the subject matter expert, so to speak. So you're nurturing people. And that means that you have to equip yourself with all the skills around emotional intelligence to build the sort of environment that I want to come to on a Monday morning, that I feel that I'm contributing meaningfully to the end game. You're reminding me, this is where we are going, and this is how you're contributing to the end game. This is why your input is valuable. Yeah.
So let's,
for organizations, it's important.
Yeah.
Because I think it was Richard Branson who said, take care of your people, they will take care of your clients.
True.
So internally, if the environment is for lack of a better word, autocratic and toxic and
not conducive, yeah,
that's the same thing that goes out to the clients that you serve. So you continuously investing in it so that the people that who are in that organization, they echo the values that have been written on the walls first and foremost, and that they have the behaviors, the operational behaviors, and EI equips them with those behaviors to be able now to now carry out whatever it is that they're doing.
So they are a true reflection of what you claim to stand for.
Yes.
In the way they do their things, in the way you see how they behave and relate to each other.
Absolutely.
So now, as we wind up, what habit can one start to practice daily to improve how we manage conflict?
Okay. I'm going to say start with self-awareness. How do you bring yourself to conflict? Are you conflict pro or you conflict averse? So, and then even if you're pro, to what degrees? I mean, if someone throws a word, you throw a word back. You're like, okay, is that effective? Maybe not. Or you see some people conflicting somewhere, you walk as far away as possible. I think it was this Kaka movie, Toy Story. I don't like conflict. I don't like conflict.
So Mr. Potato Head. Oh.
Yeah. So I can't. So how do you bring yourself to conflict? And then there are so many books. There are very many books that help you or guide you through frameworks for conflict. If you are conflict averse, if you withdraw from conflict, and how you can lean in better. Change your mind about conflict.
It's not bad. Today we've learned it's a good thing.
Yes, but even before labeling it bad or good, label it as something else. Label it as a search for clarity. Label it as, when I conflict with someone, I'm really trying to understand, both of us to understand the issues at hand. I'm gaining further information. Yeah. And then that way, even when you conflict, you give space for people to air out their views and listen. And you listen to them. So I think once you're aware of that, there are so many other things you can do. For the longest time, when I was going into a meeting that I felt was hot, and especially because I wanted to attain a certain outcome, I would go to the mirror and I would choose a phrase that I will repeat over and over again when things get hot, to prevent me from leaving the room.
No, so like, this is okay. I can hack this or what?
No, I hear you and I understand what you're saying. I hear you. I understand what you're saying. I hear you. I understand. That was an anchor, became an anchor. Then, of course, as I became better, I didn't need those phrases. But at the beginning, it's hard. So you have to look for cheat sheets. You have to get a toolkit. No, because it's true. Because
usually when I think of conflict, I get so tense. Yeah. Everything just gets tough.
Yeah. And sometimes people need to slow down their words. So they need to get a toolkit of how they can slow down their words or slow down their reactions. So what do you anchor that back to? What kind of tool can you or thing can you give yourself or arm yourself so that then you're also not doing that habit that does not bring itself to effective conflict?
Wow, we've had quite the discussion on conflict resolution from an emotional intelligence perspective. And of course, Profiles provides training on such issues.
Yes, we do.
And so they should be able to get in touch with you for more.
So get in touch with us. We talk about conflict. We even test for conflict styles. What's your conflict style? Yeah. So we have a conflict style which guys don't like very much. It's called Pollyanna. Pollyanna is the victim, who cries foul.
Womanionaire.
So already you don't know how to proceed with that.
So there's a test for that.
Yes. Yeah. You have different styles of conflict.
Okay.
You have the hero who wants to sort out everything. When there's conflict, no, you guys stop arguing. You guys also, you stop arguing. Now let's come to
these guys who come and regulate traffic when we can't agree.
They just needed for the conflict to happen. So already you have the hero, you have the judge. So there are many. I
didn't know there was a test for, hey, maybe I need to do that one.
There is a test.
Find out what's my style.
So once you get your style, then you know the best way to handle it and make it more effective.
So yeah, if you need to know about that and more, of course, make sure you do visit Profiles. And we hope if you have any questions, any concerns, or any topics you'd like us to tackle on emotional intelligence, please get in touch with us. And again, a big thank you to Vicky, the MD of Profiles. This is Angela Mwihaki. See you on the next episode. Thanks for watching Emotional Intelligence Simplified. Let us know what you thought of this episode and what you'd love to hear next. Message us on our social media platforms at EI Simplified. We'd love to hear from you.